there are any kiddos age 2 or younger, they should be sitting in the lap of a grown-up. That way they stay nice and safe and secure while we're out traveling around today. There's absolutely no eating or drinking on board with the exception of water. It's always a good idea to stay well hydrated. And finally, please keep your head, arms, hands, elbows, maps, phones, kiddos, everything that came on board with you today to stay inside the train on this side of silver rails. But now that we have all of those formalities out of the way, we'll get started on our wildlife viewing. Now the first region of Africa we're going to visit is called Sub-Saharan Africa, and it is pretty warm here. In order to escape the hot afternoon sun, non-hippopotamus spend the majority of their time in the water. They'll come up, they even sleep under there, but they will still come up about every 5 minutes for a breath of fresh air before sinking back under the water. Hippos usually wait till late or early evening before they come out and start to graze and look for different food to eat. And as soon as you pass over that river, will magically be deep in one of South Africa's rainforests. Keep your eyes peeled and see if you can spot the striped backside of our elusive okapi. Now, okapis are so elusive, in fact, they weren't even discovered until 1901. And they are our last discovered large mammal.
I can't see it. Maybe up here, please. I can't see it.
Now, from South Africa, we're going to head north, all the way to the far northwest corner of the continent, into the mountains of Morocco. Now, the Moroccan mountains are home to a very quick and nimble sheep called Aoudad. Aoudad are also called Barbary sheep, and these are the only sheep that you can find in the wilds of Africa. Aoudad have specialized hooves that help them maneuver around these steep rocky cliffs and mountains that they call home. And we'll get a good look at this one right here. Looks like having an afternoon snack. Now, when it comes to the Aoudad, the girls and boys both have those thick, curved horns and the fantastic hair that hangs down from the front of their neck and front legs.
Oh, that was fun.
Sometimes, like other sheep and goats, male Aoudads will headbutt and really try to show off for the ladies. In order to help protect their brains during those hard impacts, their skulls are extremely thick, and that'll help cushion their brains during those impacts. But we're going to head down from the Moroccan mountains and cruise to the southeast, all the way into Kenya. There's a couple of different places here in Kenya that we're going to visit. Up first, this is the Samburu National Reserve. Now, the Samburu Reserve is a protected area about 200 square miles. And the first thing I want to point out are these 3 tall, funny-looking columns in front of the train. Those are termite mounds. Now, African termites are different than the ones that we see here. African termites build those mounds using their own spit, their own poop, and a little bit of dirt. Those termite mounds, when they dry, are as hard as concrete. And animals like those eland back there can actually lean their whole body weight on them and use them scratching. Now, those eland down there are pretty big. In fact, they are one of the largest species of antelope in the whole entire world. Because of their great big size, there's really not many predators big enough to hunt for them. So they don't have many predators. Since eland don't have predators, they don't have the need for speed. And that makes them not only one of the biggest, they're also one of the slowest antelope. Now, in addition to being found out in the wilds of Africa, a lot of farmers and ranchers have begun to raise and domesticate eland as well for their meat and their milk. Eland milk actually has 3 times the milk fat, double the calcium, and a longer shelf life than cow's milk. Alright. Now, as the train is slowing down, you guys are going to cruise right past that little bitty waterfall. Then there's a great big wall of rocks, and just on the other side of it, you'll spot two little tan cats curled together. Those are caracals. Again, just on the other side of that big wall of rocks, down and to the left, you'll see two little tan cats with great big black ears. Those are caracals. Now, do not let the caracals' small size or cuteness fool you. They are definitely ferocious predators. Caracals will take down prey 3 times bigger than themselves, and they hunt for birds in a really unique way. Caracals will sneak up and pounce right into the middle of a flock of birds on the ground. When the birds fly up into the air, caracals can leap over 10 feet high. They'll start batting their paws around wildly, and sometimes they can grab 6 or 7 birds from that one single jump.
What? Bamboo?
The bird nest.
6 or 7 birds in one jump? And one jump?
Now we are going to leave the Bamboo Reserve, but continue journeying through Kenya for a little bit. As we roll down the track, we're going to enter the Great Rift Valley. And the Great Rift Valley has 14,000 miles of streams, rivers, and waterfalls, a lot like this. Because it's all the wonderful water here, the Great Rift Valley has attracted a wealth of wildlife. Down at the bottom of the falls are the largest type of pelican in the world. They're called Dalmatian pelicans. A little bit farther upstream, we've got some great white pelicans. Now, it may not look like it, but those great big stretchy, they're called googler pouches under their bills. Those pouches can hold about 3 gallons worth of fish and water all at one time. Now, you might be thinking 3 gallons really isn't that much. But think about how heavy 3 milk jugs would be to pick up, or even how much space they would take up in your fridge. Those big black and white birds are called European storks, and as odd as it sounds, they're actually native right here in Africa. They migrate to Europe for a few months in the summer when temperatures get hot. And Europeans actually got so used to seeing them show up every summer with new babies that that's how they got to be called European storks, and how we got the legend of storks bringing babies. But I'm going to pop off the mic under the falls, and I'll see you on the other side.
Talk much about it.
The legs are related to the woman. I think you're right. But they do bend the other way around. Are related to the
Okay, I think we've all made it out from under the waterfall. There's another pair of European stork in front of us. It's actually a bonded pair. They recently just laid an egg. They're taking really good care of it right now. Now those European storks, along with the other birds we've seen, really depend on the clean fresh water of the Great Rift Valley for their survival. But sadly, freshwater habitats like this are shrinking in size across the globe, and that means these animals' population numbers are also shrinking in size. But I've got some great news. Everybody on board today can help create a better world for wildlife right here in Texas just by reducing how much water you use. Something as small as shortening your shower by a few minutes will save a few gallons every day, and over time could save hundreds of gallons per year. If you can get everybody in your family to do the same thing, you all could save thousands of gallons of water every year. And that is important because we have fresh water habitats like that right here in Texas, and by reducing your water consumption, you'll be making a big difference for those animals. Everything we do up here in North Texas definitely has a big impact on our animals and freshwater habitats downstream in South Texas. But we are going to leave the beautiful Great Rift Valley behind. Some of y'all may have been able to spot our East African bongo down below. He's pretty camouflaged though. But as we cruise up north, we're going to enter one of the most inhospitable places on the planet. Somewhere where water is pretty scarce.
Right there.
We're going to head through the Sahara Desert. And they actually get less than an inch of rain every single year. In order to survive the harsh conditions, a lot of desert animals have some really amazing adaptations and capabilities. First we have our addax. And believe it or not, addax can go their whole entire life and never take a drink of water. If the addax needs, they'll get all of their moisture from the different plants that they eat.
I think it's that. Yeah. Addax. Right there.
Yeah, good job. They have really cool curvy horns.
Now, as we cross over to the other side of the Sahara, over to the far right, we got a male ostrich. Looks like he's doing some fancy stuff with his wings right now.
Oh my goodness.
And the animal with the long, straight horns over there is called a gemsbok. Now, if you can see from the side, the profile view, those two really long horns blend together, and it kind of looks like they only have one horn. Gemsbok are also one of the most protective species of antelope. So sometimes in guarding their little ones from lions, those horns could break off, and horns do not grow back. So the combination of some of them only having one horn and the appearance of only one horn from the profile is where a lot of people think the legend of unicorns got started. There are also a few Somali wild ass hanging out down in the moat if you guys spotted them.
No, we're looking at that right
They are where our domestic donkeys descended from.
That is that.
The buzzards.
We've definitely spent enough time in the desert for one day, so we're going to cruise back down to the southeast and this time visit a few regions of Tanzania. And Tanzania is home to the largest species of vulture in the world. They're called lappet-faced vultures. And as we cruise by this next river down below, we'll get a good look at one of the newest members to our Adventures Safari monorail. This is Vina, a Red River hog. Now, Red River hogs are not from Oklahoma. They're named that because of that reddish color that they have, and they typically live near rivers, ponds, and streams where the dirt is a little bit softer. They use that great big snout that they have to root around in the dirt looking for vegetables and root food. So as we leave the woods and cruise out into the big open spaces of Tanzania, a lot of times it's just called the Serengeti. We've got a few animals out. Standing right in front of this tree, next to the tree in front of the train, we've got a Gerenuk with that long, thin neck. Gerenuk can stand on their hind legs. They actually eat a lot of leaves from low-hanging branches and trees. And that allows them to live in the same places as grazers, like that little Spix gazelle back there towards the left. Spix gazelles are the smallest gazelles in the world. Way in the back, if you did not see the Somali wild ass in the desert, we've got another one hanging out in the back. And there's also a few more of those lappet-faced vultures down there. Lappet's a word that means wrinkled. So if you can see their bald, wrinkled head, that's exactly how they got their name. And vultures need to have a bald head like that. Vultures are nature's cleanup crews. They're going to go around, finish off the other animals' leftovers, and by doing that, they're actually removing things that could get rotten and spread germs through the environment. So they do us a really big favor. By having that bald, sometimes vultures also get a little ooey-gooey and gross while they're eating. And by having that bald head, they can then go sit right in the sun and wind, let that grossness get dried up and flake off. So it's nature's way of helping them stay clean after they clean up for us. And here in Texas, we actually have black vultures and turkey vultures. If you keep your eyes peeled while you're here at the Dollar Zoo today, I've seen several black vultures circling overhead. But right now we are going to cruise down and around the Gombe Stream Reserve. That's where Jane Goodall did some of her early chimpanzee research. Here at the Dollar Zoo we have a three-generational troop of chimpanzees. You can spot the youngest member of our troop hanging out on that wooden platform down there. She's about 5 years old. We're going to need everybody sitting down. Everybody sitting down. We're going to need everybody to sit down. Please, even in the back rows. Alright. So no matter what these photos are, one thing I promise is you will never ever see them monkey around. And namely, that's because chimpanzees are not monkeys. They are just apes. And you can tell monkeys and apes apart because monkeys have tails and apes, like chimpanzees and gorillas, do not. As we leave the Gombe Stream Reserve, we're going to cruise over our pond of predators. Down below we have two Nile crocodiles doing exactly what crocodiles do best. Nothing. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, these guys are experts at laying completely still, being completely silent, so much that the other animals near them forget that they are even there. And they'll actually just hang out and wait for their food and dinner to come right to them. Now, crocodiles are actually the largest predators in Africa. Our big guy down there is about 50 years old and weighs close to 1,000 pounds. But believe it or not, he's got the potential to double in age and size. And most of what we have seen today, you can only see from riding our adventure safari. But if you would like a ground level look or a different perspective, checking out the chimps and crocodiles, you can head down the gorilla trail. That's also where you might spot our two different troops of gorillas, including the two tiny little babies that are super adorable. And then that's going to be dependent on if their gorilla moms decide it is the right time and okay for them to come out. But definitely worth going to check out to see if you can spot them. The gorilla trail is a big horseshoe-shaped pathway. You can go either direction down it. One access point will be found right in that Simmons Hippo outpost, which is next door to the train station. The other access point to the gorilla trail is near the entrance to Giants of the Savannah. We'll be cruising over that in just a second. If you haven't spotted our elephant, lion, cheetah, giraffe, and warthog, those animals are all going to be in the Giants of the Savannah. And that's going to be right under this straw roof that we're going over where those elephants are pointing their trunks towards.
Well, right now we're about here.
We're getting closer to the station, but we still have a few more places to visit. Right now we are in southern Cameroon, and they're a little bit tricky to see, but we've got some mandrills down there. They're the largest species of monkey in the world. They do have a tail. It's just a few inches long, but it still counts as a tail. And male mandrills are pretty interesting. They've got those bright colored faces and rainbow rear ends.
Yeah, they're fun.
Down below we do have an adult male as well as a younger male who's just starting to develop those bright rainbow colors.
What is that? I thought
And as we leave Cameroon, would be reaching our final destination for our safari today. We are heading over the warm and rocky beaches of South Africa. Now, down below we've got some African black-footed penguins. And I know a lot of people think it's odd that we have penguins on warm beaches, but TV has kind of given us a weird misconception about penguins. There's 19 different kinds of penguins and only 4 kinds that live in the ice and snow. So most penguins are actually warm weather birds. And sadly, those African black-footed penguins desperately need some human help and intervention right now. They have lost 98% of their population in less than 10 years. Here at the Dallas Zoo, we are committed to creating a better world for wildlife. One of the biggest challenges that African penguins face in the wild is we humans have been taking their nesting supplies, and they now have not enough stuff to build their nest out of, so their eggs are essentially cooking in the sun. Penguins actually build their nest out of guano, or their own poo, and we humans like that guano for fertilizer. For the last few weeks, we've actually had several keepers from the Dallas Zoo here on the ground in South Africa, helping to install some artificial nest boxes, trying to give these guys a good safe place to lay their eggs and raise their little ones, and it's going really well. In fact, it's pretty amazing. If you guys get a chance, head over to DallasZoo.com website and read our ZooHoo blog for updates. And see what all we've been doing for conservation. Like I said, it's pretty exciting. But we are pulling back into the station.